Hi everyone, my name's Scott. I'd like to welcome everyone from the Sparx Systems YouTube channel. We really appreciate you being here today. I'm joined by Stephen, and I understand, Stephen, that we're going to be looking at strategic models again, but in particular we're going to be looking at mind mapping. So welcome, Stephen, and how can we use mind mapping in Enterprise Architect?
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for the introduction. Yes, strategic models, one of my favourite topics because they provide a strategic context for the other types of models that you have in your Enterprise Architect repository. So we have looked at an organisation chart before, and today we're going to look at a mind mapping diagram. We're going to use it to record the things that happen in a stakeholder workshop. So as always, we want to change our perspective into strategic modeling. I've been doing some decision modeling earlier on, but now I'm going to focus on strategic modeling. And here I can choose all strategy or just the mind mapping one. This time I'll choose mind mapping, and you'll see now that I have got the focus in the tool on mind mapping. So we're not going to use the builder at the moment. We're going to do this thing from first principles. So let's have a look here. We're going to add a package in our strategic model node here, and use the little tool on the icon on the toolbar to do that. And we're going to call it a stakeholder workshops here. So let's create a diagram. Again, you can see the focus is on mind mapping, and let's do that. And let's call it stakeholder workshop initial. So this is going to be the initial workshop that we have when we're starting to model. So we'll create that diagram, and you can see now that the toolbox has changed to focus on this, and we'll choose our central topic here, and we'll put one of those onto the diagram. So as always, we can drag things from the toolbox onto the diagram. Simply click on it, and I'll put it into the middle because it's going to be the centroid of what we're doing. We can call this the urban parking system stakeholder needs, and so that's in the diagram there. Now let's put in some other topics. So we'll use the quick linker here, and we'll drag that out, and we'll say let's put in here a surrogate for the motorist. So it's going to be called a main topic, and let's call this a surrogate for the motorist. So by that, Scott, I mean that, I may not have in my workshop someone that is actually a motorist. In some cases, we might do that. We might, be doing a marketing exercise and call some people in to act as the motorist. But in this case, we've got some people in the organisation that are acting as a surrogate for the motorist. And I can keep doing that and click out here, and I can say, look, we've got someone else in here that's the system administrator. So we just keep putting in these elements that are representing people that are roles that are.
I noticed there's an option there to create multiple elements. So if you knew you had 10 main topics, can you quickly add those 10 main topics and generate them out?
Yeah, for sure I could, Scott. So that's kind of part of the, the productivity of the tool. As you write, as you're doing these things, you can just keep adding, a group of them together. So that's a very useful thing to do if you're, if you've got a whole list of them. Let's just start with those ones there for the moment, and let's look at the surrogate for the motorist. So let's look at this one here, and we'll put in another topic here. So instead of being a main topic, we'll put that one in here, and you can see that I've got topic, subtopic, central topic there, and I'll copy some text into there, and you can see that, the surrogate of the motorist is saying, I want to be able to extend a session remotely from an app. So they've said in the stakeholder meeting, they've been asked, for example, what kind of things do you want to do with the urban parking meter system? And they're giving a bunch of examples of things that they might want to do. So let's have a look at a couple more. We might, do this for the surrogate for the motorist again, just using the quick linker, drop that out. It's a topic again, and we've got another request from theirs. I want to be able to pay with tap and go with my smartphone. So the kind of things that people say. Now, Scott, the thing is that the workshop itself, depending upon the person that's moderating it or organising it, it might go in particular directions. The moderator might let it go in a much more fluid way. They might be kind of constraining it and asking people to clarify things. But whichever way that happens, the useful thing is with this mind mapping diagram that you can record those things in an orderly fashion. So, if suddenly, the maintenance staff person, just popped up and, started talking about something that they want to do, then you can, just simply record that at the same time. And let's just say that we'll use again the quick linker there and say it's a topic, and we'll record what they've said as well. So we need a code to unlock the meter housing. Keys are too clumsy, right? So that's how it operated in the past, and this is this person's gripe with the way that things work currently. So what I might get you to do, Scott, is to perform some of your magic here. But before we do that, I'm just going to do one other thing to show you, how you can make this diagram, a little bit more interesting. So if I drag this one out again and make this one into a main topic, I'm going to call this the parking inspector. And what I can do is I can, as always with any element in Enterprise Architect, I can choose to represent that in a different format. So I'm going to choose the appearance of it, and I'm going to say select an image asset here. So what's popped up? It's popped up on my other monitor. Let's just drag it on so that you can see it. Up here we've got libraries, and we've got an image assets library, and here we have a parking inspector. So I can choose that there, and that's going to bring that element, that image in, and we can use that to represent the parking inspector. So you can see that makes the diagram much more compelling, and we could do that with the system administrator, the surrogate for the modist, and other people, and it makes the diagram more interesting to look at and easier to see what the roles are. But let's get you to perform some of your magic, and we'll get you to complete this diagram magically, Scott.
Will do. I'll perform my magic, Stephen, and now I can see a really nice, interesting mind map. I can see the picture of the parking inspector, which looks really good. So what's next?
Right. Well, one thing I want to point out, Scott, is that this diagram by default uses the Bezier curve, and this is this curved line you can see here. Many people that model typically use straight lines, and they bend them orthogonal to each other. But this one, the Bezier line, can be created as a line style, and I'll have a look at that in this line style here. You can see that, that it is a Bezier curve there, yeah. And that allows me to change the shape of that line and make it the curving perform a little bit differently in each circumstance here. So I can move this one down, for example, and change this Bezier curve like that. So right. Very, very useful thing to be able to do. The other thing I wanted to show you was that when I go to organizations and do some consulting work, I'm often confronted with the comment that, oh, we do our mind mapping in another tool. And that's a very common thing to happen. And the issue with that is that the mind maps that are done in other tools are not related to the actual models that people are doing inside this tool. So inside Enterprise Architect, we've created all sorts of models of how the system's going to work. We've got models of deployment models and class models and activity models and all sorts of things. And so having the mind map inside Enterprise Architect provides an incredible sort of starting point and the ability to lead into other diagrams. So let me just, for example, look at another diagram that we've created in our analysis model, Scott. So I'm going to look at the project browser here, and here we've got analysis models and manage session via smartphone. So let's have a look at that diagram. The diagram is showing a requirement. So this element here, the requirement, I want to be able to manage my current session via a smartphone app. Yeah. And what we've got over here is an image of the app. So it's the representation of the component that is the app. And then we've got the smartphone device over here. So of course, we'd be modeling, as you could understand, that we'd be modeling to support both Apple phones and Android phones and Google phones and any other types of phones that come out. And we would have a separate app that would be available through the various, the various app stores that you can get that. Now, this diagram is there, but what I can do is relate what I've done in the stakeholder diagram, and I can put this one here. We have the surrogate for the motorist asking, I want to be able to manage my current session via a smartphone app. So what I can do is I can right mouse click on this, say, find in project browser, and there it is there. And now what I can do is go back to this one here, and I can drag that onto the diagram. The other thing I can do is simply just copy that, Scott, just using the Control-C key on my keyboard, and just paste that into the diagram. I can now relate that to this element. And so now I've got a connection between my mind mapping diagram and the things that the various stakeholders want to achieve and the other parts of the model. Now that's...
So theoretically, you could trace all the way from an idea through to requirements and implementation.
Exactly, Scott. So let's have a look how we can, look at that. Let's go in here and say new child diagram and select a composite diagram here. And let's look at our urban parking meter system. We've got that there. We've got our analysis models, and that was the diagram that I wanted to choose. And you'll notice now that a small icon has appeared down here in the corner of that. I'm going to change the color of this element just to make it completely obvious that that's what's going on. So if someone comes to it, they can look at it. And if we now click on that, you can see that takes us straight through to this other diagram. So back to my thesis that I spoke of a couple of minutes ago, of saying how useful it is to be able to create the mind mapping diagrams inside Enterprise Architect, and as you said, be able to link through to any other part of the model. So we can keep drilling down into the into the behavioral models, into the structural models, into the deployment models, all of those things. And of course, we can look at our traceability window and we can see that connection. So we can see an association from the surrogate, the motorist, which is the connection here. And then we can see the connection down to the requirements. And we can, trace this one down as well from to the smartphone, to the deployment. And we can see all those connections. So it isn't just a simple thing of saying, great, we can create a mind mapping diagram in Enterprise Architect. It's the ability to connect it up to other parts of the model and to tell a story, to create a narrative, to explain and make it easy for people to understand what this system is about.
Capturing issues from a meeting, for example, you could then link each of those topics to an action item with a real diagram and real outcomes in the model itself.
Yeah, and if the issue was with a particular part of the application, it might be with a component, it might be with a business function, it might be with a deployment model, then you can link that, like you said, to any of those things and create that connectivity. So instead of just being a bag of bones, if you like, it's an articulated model that's all connected to each other, and it's keeping everyone, honest, on their toes, and being able to represent the truth of what's going on with this system in an integrated way.
Now that's fantastic. Oh, thanks, Stephen, for showing us how you can create mind maps and create some real integration with other parts of the model, providing accountability and traceability and far more detail than what could be done in a typical drawing tool outside of Enterprise Architect. I'd like to encourage all of our audience members viewing on the Sparx Systems YouTube channel to like, subscribe, and comment. If you have any questions about mind maps or strategic models, and how they might be used, please drop us a comment. We love hearing from you. And Stephen, thank you very much for your time and effort in showing us how mind maps work in Enterprise Architect. Greatly appreciated.
Always a pleasure, Scott.